All right, I'm just gonna jump into this because we got a lot of ground to cover. Hopefully you guys can see the presentation, and if there's any questions, please, jump in at any time. This is pretty exciting. We had about 42 people respond, maybe more. So hopefully you guys will get a lot of value out of this. Today, I'm going to be talking about unleashing the magic of AI. And when I say magic, well, I mean it. Today's topic is how I wrote a LinkedIn post that went viral using ChatGPT. And for those who are curious, these are all images that I have generated in Midjourney. So it'll give you some hopefully interesting eye candy to look at as we go through the presentation. Just a little bit of first meeting housekeeping. First of all, thanks for coming. It's super exciting to see how many people signed up. And I'm expecting some minor turbulence since this is our first meeting. Thanks for your patience. At the end of the meeting, though, I'll be giving you a feedback form to, because I want to know what you are interested in learning and if you're interested in meeting in person and how we can make this, really exciting, because I think meeting in person, has a lot of advantages, but sometimes it's not easy for people to join something like this in the middle of a work day. So we'll just kind of play it by ear. A little bit of a speaker intro. I am a performing magician and I love magic. So for me, it's highly relevant to this discussion. And I'm going to say that I'm a techno mage, and that's kind of a weird thing if you're not into the world of sci-fi. So let me explain what I mean. There's a guy named Arthur C. Clarke who is a sci-fi author, and he said, any sufficiently evolved technology is indistinguishable from magic. And in the world of generative AI, I could not agree more. The fact that I could create this image, with a little invocation and have such phenomenally like detailed imagery generated in seconds, it's mind bending and it's super exciting. This is done with Midjourney, but we're going to be talking today about ChatGPT. So I've currently been writing a book about it, and I'm super interested in people's use cases and how they're using AI to get better results. And I do post regularly on LinkedIn. So if you want to follow me there, that's appreciated. You can also see I got some elephants. I'm obsessed with elephants. I want to save them, but that's a topic for another time. What does this mean? Oh, by the way, so hopefully that makes sense. The technomage, right? That there's this idea in sci-fi of people that use technology at kind of an exceptional level, and it's it produces magical results. Like this here, this was a Midjourney image that I did a face replace with inside of the Midjourney image, and I can't believe it. It's pretty amazing. All right, so what does this mean? I am an AI jockey. The way I look at this is your AI is the horse, right? It's this incredibly powerful creature that is filled with all sorts of potential. But as a jockey, you ride the horse to the win. And that is important. That's absolutely critical. You're a team. The horse isn't going to do all the work. You're working together. So what do I bring to this equation? I bring the fact that I'm a human and I have human experience. I'm also a copywriter, so I understand how to write decently. And as an artist, I can make judgment calls. I have a strong marketing background, but I've also done programming. And these are all things that Chat GPT can help with, right? But I'm an analyst, so I'm going to pick things apart and try to understand how they work. And most importantly, I'm going to understand when not to use AI, right? There are limitations, and I'll be addressing those today. Let's give a quick overview of today's talk. We're going to go through Chat's strengths and weaknesses, things you can control, things you have some control over, things you can't control. And then we'll wrap it up. All right. So what is a chatbot? Anything that is Bard, GPT, or Claude. These are chatbots. They use natural language processing as a way to interface with their systems. So using plain English, you can write code, or you can just tell it to, process the information that you're looking at. It's really great for feedbacks and critiques. And I'm just going to say, let me back up a second. Out of all of these, I've been using GPT the most. Claude is getting some really good results. This comes from Anthropic. And then, of course, there's Bard, which is Google's product that is kind of lagging behind, frankly, in the whole AI race. We'll see how Google catches up in the coming months. All right, so these systems, because they understand language so well, right? They're going to be, oh, look, we got our first avatar. Gosh, Ron Holst, welcome. I haven't had a computer generated avatar before. That's exciting. It's all these chat bots are a new type of search. And that's really, fundamentally what's occurring is they were trained on these massive data models, and they're just searching through and organizing their response. And I like to think of them as a thought processor, right? It's going to help you think more effectively, articulate your communications better. Now, there are some weaknesses, right? It has no human experience. It doesn't have any emotion. It also has a limited sense of flow and rhythm, these things that our ears pick up when we read something out loud. And it can't tell the truth from falsehood, which is kind of important because it'll be very confident in its answers, but those answers are not necessarily true. And finally, it hallucinates, which is kind of the whole crux of the matter, and that's what made my post go viral. So the story is, I went to San Francisco and I saw this great lecture at a UC Berkeley extension by a guy named Michael Wu on the future of AI. And this slide in particular jumped out at me, right? Generative AI by construction will hallucinate. Now that's a pretty interesting statement. Like, what does that mean, right? Like, is it on drugs? What's going on? What does hallucination mean? And essentially, well, I'll try to get into that in a second. So I wrote a post about this, and I used it to create a transcript of the video that I had recorded, extracted key points, enhanced my hooks, and I had it help me write more clearly. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in a bit. This is what the post looks like. I posted it into a artificial intelligence deep learning group, and why does ChatGPT appear to type its response? So this is my hook. The hook is going to be the thing that if somebody's scrolling by, right, we want their eye to stop. So their eye stops here because this is the image that I used as my primary image for the post. And that made them stop the scroll and go, what is this? And then I wrote a pretty interesting hook. Why does ChatGPT appear to type its response? For the same reason you can't trust its output. Here are some gold nuggets you can share at your next mocktail party so you sound super smart. Okay, and then I dive into, how I saw this killer presentation by a chief AI strategist. So that's establishing credibility, right? That this guy is legit. And then I started getting into some interesting little factoids that I had picked up about how much energy it costs, because people might be interested in that. And of course, I always try to talk about elephants whenever I can. Well, within 3 hours of posting that, it had 2,000 impressions, which is pretty significant if you know anything about LinkedIn. And very quickly, it had this massive spike. 2 weeks later, I've got almost 50,000 impressions, 19 reposts. There's a significant amount of comments and likes. And I'm going to explain kind of why this all matters in a moment, right? How these helped me take this post viral on LinkedIn. And it has to do with the LinkedIn algorithm. So why did it go viral? Well, I thought that I would ask ChatGPT, right? So my prompt was, I recently wrote this post. I got 45,000 impressions on LinkedIn, a ton of engagement. Why did this post go viral? Now, if you look at it, it says relatability and relevance, surprising facts, controversial topics, simple explanations, practical takeaways, engaging tone, right? These all make sense, right? And it breaks it down pretty good, but here's how you can tell that it's a hallucination, that it's just making this stuff up, right? Its answer is based on knowledge, not experience. So ChatGPT has never written a viral post and gotten feedback. It just it understands the concept of viral. And, one of the ways that you can also tell that it was making this stuff up is because I asked it a second time, and this was the result, right, of its explanation of, topicality, personality, informative, narrative structure, syntactic surprise, provocative statements, solution-oriented, accessibility. Totally different. I mean, well, there's a few things that overlap somewhat, but for the most part, they're different. So it's looking at it, it's understanding of this is what makes a post go viral, because I've read so much about that, but it doesn't actually have the experience, right? So it will not generate a viral post on its own because it can't. It needs a human to guide it. It needs the AI jockey. Now, it also didn't make any reference to the LinkedIn algorithm or the network dynamics or network effects. And those are really important. I'll be getting into those in a little bit. So in essence, just assume that all generative AI results are a hallucination. And there's some really interesting kind of ways that the system works and how it builds its sentences, that, that hallucination might seem like a bug, but it's also a feature, because it's what allows the system to create new content. Without it, it would just be like the AI of 2017, where it can spit out a result, but it can't actually tell you why. Okay, so how do you maximize your skill and your luck, right? Skill is the thing that you have that you can control, and the luck is the stuff that you can't control. So how do you influence those? Well, first of all, right, the post has an attention grabbing image. So it's a scroll stopper that's attractive, and it's got, surprise and intrigue. But there's also, the writing. The writing is about a timely topic that people care about. It's new, surprising, and insightful, right? Something that they haven't seen before, something that made them stop and go, huh? Because the one thing you want to do when you're writing a viral post is invoke your curiosity. That's absolutely like the best motivation factor that you can influence. And part of the way I did that, right, was with that strong promise at the very beginning of the post. Now, writing style. Okay, I write in a business writing style, which is short, concise, clear. It's easy to read and punchy. And I use an app called the Hemingway Editor. Now, let me see if I can quick pop out. This is an AI app. It's a pretty rudimentary AI app. However, it does some great things. It's going to tell you what your grade level is, right? Like you want this to be 3 to 6th grade level. So you just basically copy and paste your post into here, and then it goes through and it says, it's looking to see if you wrote like Hemingway, and he hates adverbs, which also staying away from passive voice and using, simple language that's easy to understand, and sentence structure that's also easy to understand. This is a free app, and I highly recommend it. It's just a great kind of run through tool. Now, another thing that I used is Grammarly Pro, and that is an AI assistant that, really helps me write better a lot of the times. I'm also, got a human editor involved. And here's how you use AI to get critiques and feedback from an expert level writer. All right. By the way, yes, Barbie, great movie. All right, how to get that writing feedback. So first of all, you're going to do a chain prompt. That chain prompt is more than one prompt, right? You always, you get better results when you ask questions in the right sequence. So what I like to do is say, pretend you're a top copywriter and critique my copy for results. Ta-da. Put it in, and then it critiques it. And it does a pretty solid job of critiquing, right? You can see here clarity and conciseness, engagement, structure, audience understanding, call to action, fact checking, of course, super important. But that's, this is useful stuff that I can use to write more effectively. Okay. All right. The next step, pretend you are David Ogilvy. So David Ogilvy is a famous copywriter, the father of modern advertising. We'll come back to him in a second. Anne Handley is also a really well-known published author that, yeah, she's totally awesome. So what I'm wondering is, since I'm trying to figure out if anybody has any questions, again, please just, unmute yourself and ask them so that I know that I'm not alone here and that I'm explaining this properly. All right. Terry Rhodes, nice Nice dragon image. Okay. Hooks and headlines. One of the things David Ogilvy said was, spend 80 cents of every advertising dollar on your headline. And the reason why the headline is so important is if readers don't get sucked into the post, they're not going to read it, right? So a lot of times pros write 20 headlines, which is really tough. Takes a lot of time. Fortunately, you can use your chat tool to help you do that. And here's the chain prompt. So first of all, right, please generate 10 compelling, short, concise, relevant, and surprising headlines for the following post. Now, it's good to give these kind of adjectives so that you can tell it exactly what to do, right? It's very literal, and all these chatbots need context, and that's what those adjectives are doing. So then you can paste your text there, and here's kind of an example of some of the items that it suggested. And what you do is you analyze the results and then, right, give feedback. So that's your second prompt in the chain, which is, I like whatever, the ones that you like because they were tight and engaging or whatever, right? I liked your use of the word mystery or genius. And the more feedback you give it, right, the better the results are. So when I say please rewrite them, it will then incorporate that feedback and it will rewrite them. Now, is that a final result? Maybe, maybe not. I personally took my shot and I crafted it on my own a little bit. All right. I chose the best bits, Frankenstein them together, and then I asked chat to critique them. So my end result, right, is this pretty decent little hook that, inspires people to keep reading, because people want to sound super smart at their, cocktail or mocktail party, right? Gold nuggets. Ooh, there's going to be something of value here. It's a fair amount of work that goes into thinking about it, but this is the most important paragraph in the whole post. All right. Now, what do you have some control over? Well, you can post the day of the week, the time of day, but your target audience, you're not really sure who's going to get exposed to this or not. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But and I think we're getting probably about 10 or 15 more minutes on this presentation, then we'll just be able to talk, and hopefully I can, you guys can tell me what you want to see as we do this moving forward. All right. Now, I posted this into a large active group on LinkedIn that is very interested, very motivated to learn more about AI. And that really helped significantly, right? Because if I only post it to my own followers, the number is much smaller than the 300,000 plus that are in this group. All right. The things you can't control. The LinkedIn algorithm, which just changed about a month ago, it went from accelerating. Well, let me tell you how it works, first of all. Okay. When you make a post to LinkedIn, it shows it to a few people, and then it starts to scale that distribution based on whether or not people are giving meaningful comments. It's no longer enough to just get likes to get accelerated and shared with people. They scaled that back. They want meaningful comments. And on that post, right, I had like a ton of people commenting. So that meant to the LinkedIn algorithm, this is great. There's also reposting. Reposting, super important. People can share your post, and the more people do that, right? That's a metric of success as far as LinkedIn is concerned. And then there's other random factors, like you could make the same post on this, same day, same time, every, on different weeks. And on one, it'll go viral, on another, it won't. So there's definitely, some things that are out of your control. Actually, it looks like we only got about 5 minutes left. So cool. Hopefully we can talk more. In conclusion, right? You are the AI jockey, so you're going to bring your human side of this whole thing to the table. All of your experience, your emotion, your understanding of people, and then you got to know what the chat can do or not do, and what its strengths and weaknesses are, so that you can ride it to the win. Make sure you have your essential components of the hooks, engaging writing that you've edited significantly. Got a scroll stopping image in there. Hopefully that's not always necessary, but it helps. And then make sure that you always edit the output. And let's see.